Hey friends, so welcome to DBC Inc. Live. We have a special guest and a happy book birthday. Becky Keene is in the house. We're so excited you're here, Becky.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's
Oh my
always
God.
exciting to have a book birthday.
Book birthdays are the best. They're one of our favorite things to do here in publishing for sure. You work so hard, you get to this final product and you get to share it with the world and just see what they have to say about it. And it's always just super fun. So Becky, I know that several people will be joining us. Some will be watching this on the playback, wherever you are around
Right.
the world. We're super excited that you're joining us at whatever time you do join us. But we're going to tell you all about this beautiful new project. By the way, it truly is beautiful. I love this
Thank
cover.
you. I'm so in love with the cover, which of course DBC designed, and I got to select right from a variety. But when I saw that cover, I went, oh, "That's it!" Like it didn't even hesitate. I loved it.
It's so pretty. I told Dave while I was working on the graphics for this one, I was just like, it reminds me of sunshine. It's just like so exciting and happy.
Yeah, I'm so thankful the design team was really intentional around the positivity vibe, the kind of the orb. I love the orb. I love the clean white simple, like it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. AI doesn't have to be. Yeah, it works. I'm thrilled. I love it.
I think it really just encompasses the message of this book where it's just, well, the title, AI Optimism. If you're joining in, by the way, thanks for telling us where you're at. So exciting. Okay, Europe is in the house. Nice
Joanna
to
made
have you,
it.
Joanna.
He teased me. It's like it's really late there. I'm like, oh come on, Joanna, you can stay up till 8 or 9.
You got this. You got this. So this is so excited to see you here, David too. Thanks for joining. So our new book, AI Optimism, it's a guide to redefining artificial intelligence in education. I feel like there's so many great pieces about this book. But Becky, before I go on and on about the book, I don't want to do that. I want them to get to hear from you. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then just a real quick elevator pitch of what you're really hoping the readers gain from this book. And we'll dive a little deeper in a moment.
So, okay. So, Becky Keene, educator, right? I've spent 25 years in public education, which is crazy to me, that it's just flown by. And so I've been supporting on a variety of levels, either as a teacher. Hi, Stevie. Oh, so fun to see friendly names in the chat. I have been an instructional coach. I've worked at district level. I've worked at system level. The last 10 years, I've worked at consultancy level. So I get to go in and visit and advise with schools, K-12 and higher education organizations and institutions around the world, which is just an absolute honor, that people want to listen to what I have to say time and time again, which is wonderful. And so the book really came out of the last 2.5 to 3 years of AI and how we have been viewing AI and how I really just had this desire to help put into perspective what I think really matters with AI as far as how do we use it, how do we use it well, and how can we use it transformationally? Because I see a lot of, I'm just going to call it out. I see a lot of like, you can make a worksheet, or like, hey, you can turn this video into a slideshow. And that's true. Uh, but it's not where I hope this tool will go. And so I felt like I needed to write a little more about that.
So true. And I think you've done such a beautiful job of making the content inside this book just very applicable and also reminding us that it doesn't have to be hard. You know,
Right.
you said this multiple times that, I think your exact quote was something about like, don't wait until you feel completely ready to join the AI
Mm.
journey. Like just jump in there and do the things that you can and then grow from there. So tell us a little bit about um Yeah. So you said you want us to move from like substitution, if you will, just like
Yeah.
to
So
something more transformative. Give us a little more information, but not the whole thing. They have to buy the book to get the whole thing. Just, a little teaser here.
right, just a little bit of framework. So I started thinking about how do we use AI in education? And that breaks into 6 different categories. And so I developed this AI optimism framework where we look at, and I've been teasing this out for months. I've been presenting on it, it's been in my newsletters. I just haven't named it until today. So, very fun to put a name on the AI optimism framework. And it looks at what do we need to do when we design, create, support, analyze, evaluate, and manage, because those are the things that educators are doing. And then inside each of those things, so let's take design, for example. If I'm designing curriculum or designing lesson or designing a learning experience, I can choose a substitution level, or I can move past that using Ruben Pintadura's SAMR model. I can move all the way into transformation. And so for those of us who are new to AI or new to innovation, a more traditionalist mindset, or even a humanist mindset, those people are going to be most helped by that substitution and augment level because it's not scary. It's just one small change, one small tweak. But we might also have some listeners, some readers who are like, hey, I've been using AI, or maybe they're a cannonball in, Tara kind of person. They're like, I just need to go all out. And so they're going to be really excited about that modification redefinition level where we don't even recognize the original classroom experience. It's like this is completely evolved just based on the tools that are freely available to kids everywhere.
I love that. And I think too, I know I got to work with so many of your quotes, and it was just so fun to, pull the quotes out of the book just to decide which ones we're going to highlight, and also
Right.
relive the process of this journey that we've been on for the past like 6 months of
Hmm.
creating this project. Has it been 6 months?
Oh, way longer. So I think I approached you last March, March 2024.
Mhm.
So it's been 15 months
How does the time?
total,
I don't
total
know.
time. Yeah,
Where does
which is crazy. Yeah.
time? I love it. But yeah, one of the quotes I know you were talking about is how the future of education, and you said, is not going to change just with like magic and I forget the other,
Right.
I wish I could remember the
Yeah.
other little word you used, but you said
Oh,
it's really going to change when educators decide to take on this journey of with both optimism and wisdom. You said the future of education will be led by educators who approach technology with both optimism and wisdom. Let's talk a little bit about that.
okay. Yeah. I see so much value in what educators are doing. And I don't want anyone to think that I ever come in, when I speak or when I lead workshops, I don't ever want to come in and say, you're not doing a good job. Teachers work hard everywhere, every day. So it's not about that. It's just about using the amazing background that you have and wisdom and pedagogy and praxis, and then applying that to innovation and education and like what is really moving kids forward. And so yes, I believe that the teachers who are the most successful are the ones who don't just like plow forward with no thought to student privacy or critical thinking, evaluating these tools. There are a million, and I'm not even exaggerating, right? It's not a hyperbole. There are a million AI tools, and that's kind of a little bit scary when you think about student privacy and the fact that some of these tools are, I love a startup, but tiny little startups who don't really have their ducks in a row quite yet, maybe. And we have teachers just kind of accidentally feeding them student data. So it's not just, again, AI optimism is not just about like, all in, just embrace everything. It's about making those careful, thoughtful decisions with the lens of this is going to change students' lives forever. And that's exciting to me.
It's so exciting. I think you. also said something about I wish I had these quotes pulled up in front of me. I'm like kind of going off the top of my head. I know you also said something about how we need to really approach AI with the same curiosity that we hope our students are approaching learning, and you basically were saying, if you do this, you're going to discover things that were once impossible for us as educators.
That was true when the internet came out, right? It was
Exactly.
like oh my gosh, we could do all these things. And I feel like in the internet revolution, which I lived as an educator, um, we maybe didn't see as much transformation as we hoped. I think,
Right.
some schools and systems really got it. It's siloed. Sure, every kid has a device, but how are they using it? And sometimes I get to visit schools and I see kids really just completing like online PDFs, which is the same thing they've been doing for hundreds of years. And so that's not transformational. And here we have this opportunity to really partner with our learners and help them see how this technology can help amplify their learning, but can also limit their learning. And so that then goes into student choice and how they're using these tools, with integrity and appropriately. And it's not about, to me, it's not about red light, green light. It's more about that critical thinking of, how am I using AI appropriately? Is this helping me? Is this actually getting in my way of my thinking? And that's our metacognition that a lot of kids aren't slowing down to think through.
Mhm.
um, and there's lots of reasons they're not. This isn't all on, on the educators, but I think when we plan experiences that are at that R redefinition level,
Yes,
that's when we get the most impact.
for sure. And so, like, thinking about the redefinition or transformational, even just moving in that direction, what if we gave the listeners just like a one little sneak example?
Oh man.
Look like? I mean, I know you work with these all the time, and I'm putting you on the spot, but just anything.
Okay, so one that I'm sharing at ISTE coming up, is, so I teach Washington State history, here in Washington State. When I was teaching, that was a topic I often taught. And so I could use AI to, make a new worksheet for my students. And it doesn't have to be like a boring worksheet. I could put in my student interests, I could put in some personalization, I could ask it to make funny jokes, like Washington puns, right? Like I could really level up. And that's fun and that's new and that's different. At the end of the day, it's still a worksheet, but it's still a fun way to engage students a little differently. So that's kind of at the S level, right? Or
Yes.
maybe I add some custom imagery to my worksheet and now it becomes augmented and it's really interesting and visually and engages students in maybe a hidden pictures type activity, like find the landmarks. And I can customize that and that's all great. But I could also use a tool, let's just say Canva Code, since that's something that I know a lot of educators have access to. And I could create a simulation with natural language. Like I don't have to be a coder, I don't have to host a website, I don't have to do anything technical, which is wonderful for me.
Yeah.
And I can just ask it, like, create a simulation of Washington's economy for the last 140 years since we were a state, and show, major points on the timeline. And then students can be interacting with that and actually like doing some deep thinking, asking questions, moving things around. And then, of course, the out of screen class reflection time is going to be most helpful. And that's still like a modification level, but we can go all the way into redefinition by saying, okay, instead of doing a worksheet, reading a book, watching a video about the logging era in Washington State's history, why don't we interview a student from the logging era using a chatbot? And those experiences are slightly controversial right now, because we're asking AI to adopt a character and then speak on its behalf, which is really a fascinating endeavor. But I think it's incredibly valuable. And School AI, for example, will actually prompt the student and say at the beginning of that activity, this is generated by AI. You should be discussing with your educator about what you learned. Like it's giving the students that reminder And so they're adding in those safety AI literacy layers, which is incredibly helpful. But it's so much more interesting to learn about it from that first-hand-esque scenario than it is to do any of the activities I just mentioned. So
For sure.
it redefines the learning experience for students.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's so astounding. And I know there's so many examples and ways that we can do this in the classroom in AI optimism. So if you're looking for more ideas or you're looking for more, basically, one of the things Becky has done in this is made this approach, this AI optimism approach, very like accessible and also not scary. I think you even said like this is grounded not in panic but in possibility. This is
Mhm.
in agency and not in what was the other word? I don't remember, but you basically were saying like I'm giving you the tools. This is a positive approach. That's why it's AI optimism, because it's
Mhm.
inviting all of us as educators, no matter where you're at in your AI journey, to find a place where you can just move over a little bit and move over
Mhm.
a little bit and move over a little bit until you start to feel much more comfortable with this redefinition that I think our students actually deserve. And another thing I love so much, that you were saying, like one of the best pieces about, I think, this approach is that not only does it help to make new things possible for our kids, like this interviewing this chatbot. I mean, how cool is that? Like, as a student, I would much rather do that than read in a textbook, or watch a video. But while it is creating these cool opportunities for students to learn, it's also freeing up our capacity as humans to do what matters most, building relationships with
Right.
our students, having more time, not freeing up our time by it creating all the worksheets for us, but freeing up our time, giving the students these really cool learning opportunities. And as you said at the onset of that redefinition activity, it's like talk to your educator. Like this is an AI bot. So then now as a student, I'm coming up to you like, hey, I don't know, this is kind of controversial. Like it kind of says this in
Mhm.
the text, but it kind of the bot said something like this. Like, what do you think? And it gives you that
Right.
opportunity to like fill in the gaps, but also build those relationships with the students.
And that's really what the analyze, evaluate, manage sections are about, is freeing the teacher up to do things differently. It's not about like replacing tasks. It's not about, I know we all hear, we're so sick of hearing like AI can save you time. We still have 24 hours in the day. But I know that when I've worked with students and I've set up AI tools to benefit them in those lessons, in those units, the students are more independent for some of the learning because they're self sufficient. They're accessing a tool that can help them 24/7, anytime. It has unlimited patience and unlimited encouragement. And so that frees me up to do work with students who really need that one on one assistance, one on one help, or small group instruction instead of having to constantly be checking on everyone. And then that's moving everyone forward together.
Mhm.
Um, so I just think there's so many possibilities here. And one thing I will add is I was really careful in the book to not just focus on teachers who are directly impacting students. So there's ideas for coaches, there's ideas for principals, school leaders, heads of school, because there's really something in each category for everyone based on what they're doing. And then I also have student use cases on tools that check with your school system on if they're allowable and all of that. But tools that I've checked out that I think are really powerful for students. And it's not always, the big six that we hear about all the time. It's these other tools that are doing amazing things in tiny corners of the internet.
Awesome. So, Becky, I have a question for you. And I know readers will probably ask this eventually, but you know how AI is changing like every single day, like every
Yes.
single day things get.
Yes.
I know my chat GPT, like I call him my boyfriend. I mean, he literally knows everything about me. I think I'm like,
Right. Right. By now.
even dogs like
Yeah.
me. No, even it's amazing. So as this evolves and becomes something incredible, even more incredible,
Hmm.
how relevant do you feel like you've written the book to be able to continue to support educators? How do we prove, like,
Right. Oh,
yeah,
I
just a little bit
thought,
about the relevancy of this book.
yeah, I thought long and hard about that because it's almost impossible to make an evergreen book about AI when it changes so quickly. Um, the poor editing team with weeks to go, I was like, hang on, I need to change this one word because now that it's different. But the reality is the book itself is it's not a how-to guide. There's no click steps. There's no like screenshots of go do this, go do it here. It's about the pedagogy. It's about the teaching. So the book is laid out on basically what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And then how can you get there? Either through prompting or through I call them easy button apps, where you don't have to think, you just kind of put stuff in, or something that you build custom. And then I'll comment a tool like this tool, like if there's one available now. But for many of them, I just talk about the possibilities using any platform, because the reality is the AI we have today is the worst we'll ever have. So it will only get better and easier and more accessible. And right now, we can do everything in the book. So it's only going to get simpler and easier, I think. There's nothing in there that we're like, oh, we won't be able to do that next month. You're going to be able to do more, so maybe, there's a part two at some point. But right now, there will not be anything that like, oh, we can't do that. It doesn't work anymore. It's outdated. Right. So we really aimed for that.
I think we did a beautiful job. Honestly, you and the editing team, the production team did such a great job. And I've told people, some people have asked, like, you know, questions such as this, like,
Yeah.
how will this help me if I'm already using AI? I mean, it's an approach. It is an approach. It's a framework, and it's a mindset, honestly, moving forward with AI. And I think, like you said, this is the worst it's ever going to be. So once you develop the mindset and you start to understand the levels of how you can take this tool and take it to the next level for your learners, no matter who they are, students, adults, yourself. Honestly,
Right,
I think
right.
as a mom, as a grown up, whatever,
Yeah.
and use it. I mean, it's just when you pitch this book, I went back to Dave and I was like, oh my gosh, like, look, we have to have this. Like, it's just so good. And I think it's because everybody knows Samar, like most of us have been seen it at least when we write goals.
Yeah.
And then also like being able to think in that way, but with this beautiful tool that we have in front of us, and how we are truly able to do what was once impossible in education because of it. It's all about changing your mindset with the AI optimism approach. And it really is timeless. I think it'll be timeless for.
And thanks for clarifying that, because I've had a couple of people say, oh, well, we don't, Samar, the criticism Samar gets, or Samar, however you say it, is around the emphasis on the tech. I've heard that as a criticism. And I think that's from people who don't really understand how to use the framework, honestly.
Right.
Because the point of the framework is to start with, what am I trying to achieve? Like, what do my students want to do? So if you're starting with, as an instructional coach, I would have teachers that would come to me and say, hey, I want to use Minecraft. And I'm like, okay, back up. It's not about the tool. It's about what are you trying to do?
Right.
So that's why the framework, the AI optimism framework, is so important, because we start with, what are you trying to achieve? What is your goal? Are you trying to help students find career counseling? Are you trying to help students have a reflection? Are you trying to support literacy? Like, what's your goal? And then let's think about your comfort level around AI. That's the next step in the process. And then finally, we talk about, okay, what tool fits that purpose? What tool fits what you're trying to achieve, your students, your comfort level, and your district requirements? And that's the framework. So it's not like, oh, I just feel like I have to be using these tools. It's the opposite of that. It's choosing the right tool for what you're trying to do.
For the goal. Exactly. Yes. I love that. So beautifully said. So, wow, our time is already over. I can't believe it.
That went by fast.
I feel like I could talk about this all day because I'm super excited about this book. But if people want to pick this book up, And well, I guess like let's just ask the same question I like to ask all of our authors. Um, right before we launch the book or as we're launching the book, what do you hope readers will take away from the book? They pick up the book, they read it. What is your end goal for all readers that like pick up this book?
My goal is that the readers will focus more on possibilities than problems.
Beautiful.
That is my goal.
I think it's a beautiful goal. And I think it's so true. And there's so many opportunities. It's really so cool. And I can't wait to see like as people start to pick up the book and try it in their classroom and realize also, I think there might be some of us out there that'll have an awareness of where we really are. Like sometimes I felt like even being like evaluated as an educator, you know, sometimes I was a little bit shocked on where my principal thought I actually was,
Sure.
where I thought I was, you know, because
Yeah.
you don't know, because you're just living in your worlds, right? And
Yeah.
so as you read AI optimism, you start to adopt this approach of in this way of thinking moving forward. It might be interesting to say, okay, like recognizing, okay, this is where my comfort level is, but I do want to move forward. And I want to
Right.
start that those redefinition is becomes my comfort level. Like it becomes
Right.
eventually, I mean, I think that's kind of the end goal where we're always innovating and we're like pushing the boundaries. Like you don't always go there for every lesson, but you do
No.
think
Right. I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
might
I'm glad.
think about it, you know?
Right. Right. It's more about, again, evaluating what you want to achieve and then determining what makes the most sense. There are days when you just need everyone to sit down and and give you a few minutes, right? Or you have a
Right.
really didactic lesson that like that's the best way to do it because it is what it is. But yeah, it's about having that range. So I'm excited too. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to share my voice and to encourage other educators. I've already had so many positive remarks from the pre-reviewers to people today who were like, "Oh my gosh, this is what we needed." So I'm so honored by that, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes.
Same. I was going to name one more thing, just on the video, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of times we
Okay.
talk about in the publishing world or creating content, you know, we'll talk about content contrast and how it's kind of nice to not have the same thing all the time. Like, let's
Mm,
put this and this, you know, let's like change it up a bit. I think with AI optimism, you know, as I've read through this book and processed like this way of thinking, like you said earlier, sometimes those lower levels on the SAMR model framework is okay. Like you're not going to
yeah.
always want to be in redefinition. That would be like that would be wild, you know, always to live there. But
Mhm.
to have that contrast all throughout, like sometimes, but knowing where you are in the classroom and not staying the same. So if we're always in substitution, it's time to make a move, you know, like we have all these opportunities. But then likewise, we don't want to always probably live in the hardest level, you know, and I think that's what you kind of share throughout it depending on the lesson, depending on the goal, where are
Mhm.
we and where are we headed? And it
Yep,
really
it's all about
won't be
that.
over like one, you know.
Right. It's all about that teacher praxis, right? Of evaluating where are we and what do I want to achieve? What do I want to go? Um, and so hopefully that's why we use the subtitle is a guide,
A guide. Yeah.
right? Because it's something where I hope like my best case scenario is that teachers around the world and school leaders have this on their desk. And when they're thinking like, oh, I would love to know more about how to impact X, pick a topic, they're going to grab this and flip to their sticky note and be like, okay, Becky talked about how we could do this a little bit differently. Let me see if we have access to that resource, or let me see if we could, try to modify this. But that would be my best case ever, is for people to use this to come back to over and over and share with others and be like, hey, there's some good ideas in here. You've been talking about solving these problems because really it's a problem solution book.
For sure.
So that would be amazing.
I love it. I love it. I thought I would just throw that in there for anyone who's feeling a little anxious, like maybe a little nervous or a little like, whoa, that might be just too much for me. No, everyone is going to be able to find their place in this book. And I think everyone should pick it up, no matter what your role is in education. It's just a great way to like change the way that we think, and also to help stretch us to the next level, which I think is what this is all about. So, Becky, thank you so much. If they want to connect with you or tag you as they're reading and sharing and learning and trying things in their classroom, where can they find you?
Well, I have hashtag AI optimism, of course, already set up in Blue Sky. So I'll be tracking that on my feeds. But everywhere else, you can tag me, Becky Keene, or Becky Keene EDU, depending on the platform. Some of you have been watching my TikTok walks. Those come out almost daily. And that's been a really fun way to connect with people around the world and just talk about AI. So if you can't find me, you can literally Google Becky Keene and it's me. So I'm not hard to find.
Perfect. Awesome. So as you're reading, as you're learning, as you're trying some of these strategies in your classroom, be sure and share out. All of us are made better when we share what we're doing in our little areas of the world. And we are just so excited for you, Becky. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.